So I'd like to formally welcome you here to the East Midlands Conference Centre on behalf of EMDA, and thank you for coming. For those of us in the public sector, the 31st of March is a very important day in terms of our year end, so I know it's a busy time for everybody, so I think we're really grateful to you all for taking the opportunity to come. As Chris said, EMDA's been supporting this Unleashing Enterprise work in a number of ways and has been funding the project. We've also been chairing a steering group looking at developing an enterprise culture strategy, and I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. But I think it's worth just saying a bit more about EMDA's role more generally. You can see from the banner over there the summary of our regional economic strategy, which talks about a flourishing region, and a key part of that is about building an enterprise culture, building enterprise in communities. The strategy, one of the 10 priorities of the strategy is enterprise and business support, and I'm sure most people in the room will know that EMDA delivers the Business Link business support service across the region. But we also support enterprise and support young people in many other ways as well. In terms of skills, a large part of our skills budget, which isn't very big, but a large part of that budget is spent on STEM, science, technology, engineering and maths. So that's about encouraging young people, again, as Chris said, from primary age right through up to higher education, to take a greater interest in STEM subjects so that they will hopefully go on to develop flourishing careers. What we found in terms of developing an enterprise culture strategy was that whoever you speak to, people can very quickly see that there is a reason to want to do this and to want to engage young people in particular in being enterprising. But actually, particularly in the public sector, when you try and talk to an organisation and find the right person to deal with this issue, very few organisations have got an enterprise culture person, whether that's a local authority, the Learning and Skills Council, Job Centre Plus, even EMDA for a while, you could say. There's no sort of natural place for it to sit, and I think EMDA was in a unique position that we've had a bit more flexibility over how we structure ourselves and how we fund priorities to be able to do that. And I think Alison Bingham's here in the audience. I can't see her, but I saw her earlier, who did an awful lot of work, and Philip Bramall, who's taken that work over now in terms of developing EMDA's profile on enterprise culture. But actually, in other organisations, it's quite hard to engage. So we worked incredibly hard to try to develop this enterprise culture strategy, to try to get public sector bodies in particular to sit around the table and understand what enterprise culture means, why it's important, and then what we as a region need to do about it. And I think I also want to stress that this work is also critical to partnership working is also an essential part of this. And I think what we've been trying to do has been quite groundbreaking and untested in terms of trying to bring partners together. And it's clearly essential, therefore, that all the organisations, including EMDA, try to learn from each other and learn what's worked and what hasn't worked. So as part of that, we've been starting to think about creating a regional enterprise partnership board to try to bring together those people in the region who are interested and have something to contribute, and to try to think about some specific actions that we can deliver. EMDA and Unleashing Enterprise was heavily involved in Enterprise Week. We've already been involved and set up Unleashing Enterprise and the Unleashing Enterprise Steering Group, which has been working on the enterprise culture strategy. Now, this all sounds a bit boring and a bit processy, but actually public sector organisations like EMDA need a bit of a strategy and an action plan in order to be able to hook our investments on. And even if it's not financial investments, we need to have some rationale based on evidence on which we can then persuade our own board and other organisations of the importance of this agenda. So a huge amount of work's gone on so far in developing the evidence base, what our organisations are doing on this agenda, what works, what doesn't work, and clearly evaluation of the Unleashing Enterprise activities will be an important part of this. And we worked with Jonathan Durnin from JD Research, who's here as well, to develop the strategy, and that's been developing into an action plan. EMDA also has the lead role for all of the regional development agencies on the enterprise agenda more generally, and so we've been using that as an opportunity to influence and learn from other regions and other organisations in other parts of the country. I mentioned the strategy earlier, and EMDA's responsibility for the regional economic strategy. From tomorrow, from the next financial year, EMDA takes on responsibility for producing a regional skills strategy. We've inherited some responsibilities from the Learning and Skills Council, which is evolving into a different organisational structure from tomorrow, actually. And that means a regional skills strategy. And we're very keen that that skills strategy includes an enterprise skills strand. So we'll be working over the next few months, and it will be as short as that, to start to develop the regional skills strategy and looking particularly at enterprise skills as part of that. And the reason that skills strategy is so important is that it is the document which will help to direct the investments made by education providers, particularly further education and local authorities. And what we hope to be able to do with that is to understand what businesses need through EMDA's business-led board and through our links with businesses through the Business Link service, and to be able to articulate those and to present that to the providers. And the government, through Lord Mandelson, has told the providers that they must listen to what RDAs say in these regional skills strategies. So if we identify business needs within the region, then the providers have to follow through and provide those services and products that meet those needs. That's quite a big shift in terms of the things that EMDA's been doing in relation to skills. And I'm hoping, and we'll have to see whether this works in practice or not, that it really will enable business needs and providers' needs to be far better connected. I just wanted to read a few words from the Regional Economic Strategy, which I think put that into context. It is clear that for the East Midlands to thrive and to compete with the best in Europe and the world, we must build on our distinctive strengths to ensure that our economic growth creates a prosperous and sustainable region, where everyone has the opportunity to achieve their potential. Enterprise Skills drives the region's economy through the capability of its businesses, institutions and workforce to adapt to constantly changing environments on which productivity and competitiveness can be built. And I think you can see there the three phrases on there about raising productivity, ensuring sustainability and achieving equality, and through the paragraph that I've just read out show that we think enterprise skills is a fantastic way of knitting all of those things together. I just want to say a few words in the last couple of minutes about the enterprise culture strategy, which we're working on with partners, and which there'll be more hopefully in the summer for people to look at and comment on. And some of the things we're looking at specifically, as I've said already, are the creation of a regional enterprise partnership board with local authorities, educators and others on, to think about what we can do. We also want to think about looking at the opportunities in rural areas and communities, and that's one of my responsibilities at EMDA too, is to make sure that we don't exclude rural areas just by nature of their geographic location and their access to key infrastructure like broadband. We want to make sure that enterprising interventions in schools and colleges are much more focused. We're piloting a project called Qualify with a Business in partnership with Business Link, which is helping young people to develop skills directly related to business needs. We're looking at community enterprising, coaching local community entrepreneurs. And we're particularly looking at encouraging public sector organisations to embrace enterprise as a culture within their organisation. I think one of the difficulties that we've had is the government and the Treasury has done several reviews in the past about enterprise culture, has even provided funding to support enterprise education in schools, but that hasn't been ring-fenced, and many schools have not regarded it as a priority in order to, they've had to focus on other things. And one of the difficulties we've had is that I don't think the education provision, particularly in schools in terms of enterprise education, has been consistent across the region. And while the government has given out all the right messages about it being important, it hasn't been consistently delivered or followed through. So one of the things we want to do is raise the profile so that even if the government isn't mandating this through the curriculum in the way that maybe it should, we can sell the benefits of this in terms of the schools or other education providers seeing the benefits of enterprise culture and therefore wanting to do it because it's the right thing to do and will help their students rather than because they've been told to do it. And of course the enterprise strategy should itself be enterprising, and that means taking some risks and being innovative, and that is a big challenge for all of us in the public sector to try and to do at times.